this lesson, we will show you how you can use our Automation ROI widget in the dashboard module. So when you introduce continuous testing, you want to have an increased automation rate, in order to really gain more speed and efficiency. On the other hand, you want to reduce the cost of defects and also speed up your development cycle time. So the earlier you can do testing, the more automation you have, the better it is in order to deliver faster and maybe also detect defects earlier in early stages through automation instead of later on through manual testing. So now, before we go and show you the Automation ROI widget in the dashboard module, I want to focus and stress on the goal of automation. So basically, when you want to implement continuous testing and increase your automation rates, you want to achieve definitely a reduction in your development cycle time. So this is something you are focusing on to reduce, that you get through the automated testing, you get faster feedback, maybe earlier feedback through BDD, even much more when you automate the specifications. So you get the feedback much faster and earlier than performing the process manually. On the other hand, I also want to make sure that the regression itself, the cost I have in regression by assigning and executing test cases through different testers, is reduced. I want to gain faster feedback, and here I want to cut the cost and reduce the regression testing manually. But on the other hand, I want to increase the exploratory testing. So this is something where I want to focus on by introducing automation. Defect cost is also something when defects are detected much later in the stage versus if I can find defect much earlier in the stage through automation. This is something I would like to focus on, the detection of defect time in the delivery process. So this is something what I focus on when I want to introduce automation in the process, and escape defect. This is also very important. What were the defects which we missed out completely, which were escaped and maybe were in production or at a very late stage in our sprint execution, release execution, they were found. And this is something I want to focus as a goal by introducing automation. So now, having said that, how ALM Octane is measuring this is we introduce one more KPI to the whole area of automation area ROI widget. This is the automation coverage, and this is also very important to understand. The automation coverage is built through this formula, so the number of automated tests matching a specific filter divided through the number of manual and automated tests matching a specific filter, and this will give me a overall automation coverage in order to see if I have a high coverage of automation, and if this high coverage is also providing me the right benefits by reducing the cycle time, reducing the regression and defect cost, and also the number of defects which are escaped. And the way Octane implement this is through the y-axis and x-axis, which represents the releases here on the x-axis side, and the y-axis is the percentage of change from release to release. And this is something which can really show you and govern your overall automation initiatives in order to really see if you are on the right track or not. Now let's quickly see how the automation ROI is captured in ALM Octane, and then we will go into the dashboard module to show you in the live data. So let's assume we have our first release of an application we are working on, and at the very first release, we don't have any automation implemented. Yeah? So it's the automation coverage is about 0%, and we have a number of increased development cycle time as well as high regression cost. We are escaping defects, and defect cost is also majorly not very low. And then we start introducing automation. Let's say 10% of automation has been implemented still, because we have now introduced in the second release the automation. So it's not really impacting my development cycle time, which is increasing. Again, the defect cost is more increasing, as well as the defect which are escaped, and regression cost is also slightly increasing. And now from the second release to the third release, we have introduced even more on automation coverage and are using it already in our development. Yeah, so once a feature is developed, automated testing is there and is really benefiting here. So what you will see is, usually if you do it right, you will see a reduction definitely in the regression cost. So you have less number of execution of testing manually. More automated testing is in place. On the other hand, it is also benefiting your development cycle time, because you receive now faster feedback through the automated testing, and you can check on your features much faster and earlier. Defect cost is not so high, and also the escape defect, because of this faster feedback, is getting reduced. And then you continue with 80% and gain really some benefit. And if you do it right, Octane will tell you that you are on the right track by exactly measuring those KPIs: development time, regression cost, as well as defect cost and escape defect. So the way Octane is providing the automation ROI to you will really help you to understand the overall benefit you are gaining out of your automation initiatives. So let's now go into Octane dashboard module to see how this works. In the dashboard module, I can click here on adding a new widget. You will see that the widget gallery will appear, and on the very top you can see it's one of the analytic widgets. We have in total 7 of those. Yeah, so you can see we have 7 widgets which are highlighted with a special sign here on the top left corner, and automation ROI is the first widget. I would now just add this to my dashboard, and as my data is based on demo projects which I use to deliver demo to customers and partners, so it will not really reflect the reality when you introduce automation, but let's see what it reflects overall. So by adding this automation ROI, what you will see is it has added and applied to all available releases you have. Yeah, so let's first talk about here the different aspects. So I have disabled development cycle time, regression cost, defect cost, and escape defect. Just automation coverage is active for now, and you can see that the automation coverage from the very beginning of my first release, I had few automation coverage, so 59% of automation coverage was there, and then throughout the different releases I was able to increase it, and then I also get rid of some automated test cases which were not needed from release to release. And this is exactly what is representing here the ratio between manual test and automated test available in your project. Yeah, if they are applied at that time, you don't know. So but in this project I had from the very beginning, before I started, automated test and tried something out. In a other project it looks different. Here, for instance, you can see I have introduced, I had different releases where I had no automation in place. Yeah, and I introduced automation on a specific release, and it shows me exactly an increased rate compared to the manual testing ratio. So in total 83% ratio I had from the automation coverage perspective. So it can be different, yeah, based on how you start the project. But let's go back and see the next item. So here I will now first activate the development cycle time. Yeah, and the development cycle time is now added. You can see I did not really work on the backlog items and work on the features, but then at a specific time I started to work on different features. The development cycle time at this place you can see here from waterfall release to 2019 Q3 release train, I had in total, the development cycle time was 595 days, the average cycle time of delivering features. So when a feature is from in progress moved to done, the time it took to do this transition was around average 595 time. And then in the next release, it was decreased by 99% because I did not really work on the backlog module, but this is how it is measuring. So based on your feature cycle time, it provides you the KPI for the development cycle time. Yeah, so you can see here a decrease. We have the regression cost, and this is something which I was focusing from the very beginning, where I had some execution in testing manually. Yeah, so I am doing here in the first release, overall release, I had 19 manual runs compared to 59% of automation coverage, but it was not really used at that time. Then here I had an increase even from a previous release to now with 37 manual runs. And when you go further to this special release train 2019 Q3, you will see I have a high increase in regression cost because I have a high number of manual testing and execution here of test cases manually. So it increased here, and then on the next release it was reduced again. So it is really calculating here the total number of your manual execution and providing you the KPI for regression cost. So if you would introduce automation correctly, so you would really, it will reflect that through automation the manual testing was decreased, yeah, because you have introduced automation. The next one is the defect cost. This is something which I did not really focus throughout my project, but basically this will tell you if you have a high detection time. What does it mean? Whenever you run automated test cases through pipeline and you are able to detect through those automated runs a defect, this is applied here as a high detection time. And here I never opened a defect from the pipeline automated test execution. So here that's the reason why it's on 0. And then you have the last one, which is escaped defect, which you can see here. And this has been based on different releases. I opened a lot of defects and marked them that they were escaped and not pre-released. So those were detected here as well. And you can see how this is built from release to release. So if you do this correctly, you will find a good transparency in your automation initiatives, which will help you to really monitor and track if your automation is providing the right benefit to you, or you are focusing maybe on the wrong areas. And this widget can also be customized. Yeah? So you can click here on configure and define your scope. First of all, yeah, so scope is really focusing on the application modules you have. So you can create here a specific scope and ignore all others. You can introduce here different pipelines you have in your pipelines module, as well as the different releases. If you don't want to see everything, you can say I would like to see only the last 6 releases, let's say, or 7 releases. You can also apply the test definition, how the test cases are pulled out. So for automation, I could say maybe for the testing tool type, I would like to select here testing tool type is UFT1 and UFT developer, for instance. Yeah, so you can say here okay, and if you want, you can also have a filter on the manual testing side if needed, just to define the general scope of your automation ROI. The next one is the matrix. Yeah, so how would you like to measure escaped defects. So you can apply here a filter on the defects which were escaped, and based on this filter the KPI will provide you the numbers. The feature cycle time, which exactly represents the development cycle time, you can say here what you would like to measure as the development cycle time. So is it really from in progress phase of a feature to done, the time which is taken in between? Or you can also say, okay, I don't care, once it is developed and in testing I want to measure it. It makes no sense, but you have the possibility to change based on your different phases. And the defect cost for test runs, what are the test runs you are focusing on, which will then result in defects. You can set here a filter in order to display exactly those. And once you have it, you can decide to display the format. It will be by releases, and you can also select, for instance, the different KPIs you would like to have. Yeah? As I have no defect cost, I will ignore it now and will not put it in my widget, but I can use it. So this is something you can provide, and in the preview it will show you exactly the graph. So let's see how it is decreasing now. Also the automation rates, you can see I'm around 200% coverage compared to manual testing, and now with the accurate filter with UFT1 and UFT developer test, I have different numbers. So it has been decreased here. So you can see it directly, how it changed and impacted. And once you click on this Automation ROI widget, you will see on the right hand side, it will show you some additional insights. And this is also very important to understand. On the very top, it will show you how the stability is of your automation test. Yeah? If your test cases are stable or not, and if they are not really stable, you will see that this is also not really bringing any benefits on the different KPIs you have. And through the ROI matrix, what we also provide per release, you can select here and see what was the feature cycle time, for instance, for this specific release. And I can see here in total the average time was 595 days. The regression cost for this specific release were total number of manual test execution were 356. I can go on and say what were the defect cost. Yeah, so I did not really have here any defect cost because I did not open the defect with this procedure. Yeah. So I did not open it through automation testing as well as not through the manual procedure. So it is not able to count here. And the escape defect which I opened for this specific release were in total 16 defects which were escaped. So this is really some insights which helps you to understand what is your automation ROI, where you are currently focusing on, and if the automation you are using is really providing the right benefit to you. And so it will really help you to understand what is going on and if you have the right focus.